It's time for another Best of the Best Horror Countdown 2020, looking at the best horror films released between October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020. These two picks just have misunderstood people looking for friends in all the wrong ways. Let's get into it. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. I wanted to start out by reminding folks to give this video a like, share with your buddies across the electronic superhighway, click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Please get the word out to new folks so we can make this channel bigger and better. If you're in the Chicago area and love horror, you've no excuse not to head out to Chi-Town Movies Drive-In for the Music Box of Horrors. Every night in October, for 31 nights, there will be late shows Sunday through Thursday, and double features every Friday and Saturday night. Every weekend is themed: Grindhouse Fridays, Rip-Off Saturdays, and Sequel Sundays. Tonight they're playing The Dark and the Wicked, Brian Bertino's new film. Anyone who has seen The Strangers knows Bertino delivers, and this one is supposed to be awesome. I've been avoiding seeing this one for quite a while now, and I've been looking forward to seeing it on the big screen. Can't wait. Look below for a link to the schedule, where to get tickets, and directions to this awesome horror event. At number 17, we have Homewrecker. It was released on June 29th, 2020. It's available on digital download and on demand from Dark Star Pictures and Uncork'd Entertainment. Homewrecker is directed by Gayne, and it was written by Gayne with Precious Chong and Alex Essoe. Starry Eyes Alex Essoe is Michelle, a home decorator who fills out her time with dance, yoga, and exercise classes. Far too preoccupied with her own troubled relationship with her husband, she doesn't notice someone in her classes that seems to be paying remarkably close attention to her. A chance meeting in a coffee shop finally introduces Michelle to Linda, played by Precious Chong, a middle-aged free spirit who invites herself to join Michelle at her table and then proceeds to manipulate her to come to her house to help redecorate it. Once Michelle is inside Linda's home, Linda's neediness and manipulations warn Michelle that she needs to vacate the premises post-haste. But by this time, it's too late. Michelle is trapped and soon gets into the battle of her life, trying to simply get out of Linda's home. Homewrecker is the female equivalent of Patrick Bice and Mark Duplass's Creep, minus the shaky cam. Incorporating equal parts Misery, Fatal Attraction, Single White Female, and the aforementioned Creep, director Gayne and his co-writers and stars Alex Essoe and Precious Chong have delivered a wonderfully and darkly delicious little story of twisted relationships, gullible people, and menacing loneliness. Homewrecker, like Creep, is a film about a pushy person taking advantage of a more gullible one. We've all been in this type of situation where we know that we're being taken advantage of, but in order to be nice, you go along with the pushy person so as not to rock the boat or cause a scene. Everyone understands the regret we have Monday morning quarterbacking the events leading up to the uncomfortable situation, asking themselves, why the hell didn't I just say something, or why the shit didn't I just say no? Homewrecker taps into those feelings of regret in such a deft manner, and it works because it's such a familiar human situation. Because that humanity is such a common feeling, Homewrecker works no matter how insane it gets in the latter portions. Poor Alex Essoe. First she rips out her hair and becomes an inhuman monster in Starry Eyes, and now this. It seems the poor gal must suffer in every one of her roles. The thing is, she suffers so well. Essoe has a great girl-next-door quality. There's a niceness to her, and she seems to be utterly believable in these underdog, in-over-her-head roles. This is a really physical performance here as Michelle and Linda go toe-to-toe throughout Linda's home, and she seems to be up to the task to dole out the beatings when pushed too far. Essoe is great, and it's easy to understand her position, feel for her plight, and root for her to get out of this dire situation. Essoe's co-star, Precious Chong, is a true standout here, as I've never seen her before in any other film. And yes, I checked, she is the daughter of Tommy Chong and the sis of Ray Dawn, which gives light to Precious's wonderfully comedic timing that occurs so often in Homewrecker. Chong really is fearless in the role of Linda. The little we do see of her life is sad, and if she wasn't doing such horrible things, one might almost feel sorry for her. Still, she makes for a memorable villain, as it seems she knows exactly what she is doing to Michelle through her manipulations, pleadings for her to stay, and the desperate battle to keep her in the house once Michelle has had enough. Despite the seriousness of the way Michelle is being held hostage inside Linda's home, Homewrecker maintains a quirky and hilarious dark tone throughout. Linda's room is decorated in Raggedy Andy and Raggedy Ann doll wallpaper, a twisted reminder that Linda is too old to have children, and a room that becomes a prison for Michelle, who herself is having doubts if her husband really wants to start a family. Linda dances around like a teenager, singing into her vibrator while looking into the camera, in a scene that works comedically, but also has a perverse, sad, and wicked feel. The over-the-top, teeth-gnashing fight scenes between Linda and Michelle seem to be for life or death, but the way they fumble around using household objects as weapons still can't help but be ludicrously entertaining. This is a film that understands the twisted tone it possesses and takes full advantage of it. Homewrecker appears to be a collaborative effort between Gayne and the two stars, Essoe and Chong, and you feel it in every move this film makes. The film very meticulously moves towards its climax and smartly lays breadcrumbs to follow if you're a deft viewer. There are surprises to be had, and some gruesome and bloody scenes in the latter portion of the film that made me pull back in my seat in acknowledgement that this film had the guts to go to extremely uncomfortable places physically, mentally, and emotionally. Homewrecker is a pitch-black and horrifying comedic achievement that you need to seek out. Another psycho in search of a friend is Rent-A-Pal, released on September 11th, 2020. Rent-A-Pal is available on digital download and on demand from IFC Midnight. It's directed and written by Jon Stevenson. David, played by Brian Landis Folkens, is sad and lonely. He lives in his mother's basement, not because he wants to, though he does, but because he has to take care of her as she is ailing with dementia. This means that he doesn't get out much. Still, David tries to connect with others by using a dating service and making video interviews in hopes to find his match. After a particularly awkward taping of a new interview for the dating service, David notices an obscure video entitled Rent-A-Pal and decides on a whim to pick it up. When he gets home and watches it, he meets Andy, played by Will Wheaton, who speaks to him through the video screen and takes part in mock conversations with the viewer. Andy is understanding, likable, and everything David is looking for in a companion. But when the dating agency sets up a date with a perfect and real-live girl named Lisa, played by Amy Rutledge, it seems Andy doesn't like being left behind, forcing David to choose between a new life in the real world or the one he has with Andy. Rent-A-Pal is one of those movies that's going to leave you feeling changed. It's one of those films that transports you into the middle of an uncomfortable story with characters that feel all too real and make you feel sad that there are actually people like this in the world. Reminiscent of the lovable losers of Napoleon Dynamite, and set in this very specific and awkward year of 1990, Rent-A-Pal feels like the dark flip side to Napoleon Dynamite, where everything works out horribly in the end. Rent-A-Pal is a small and quirky film. Like David himself, the film doesn't go for big or bawdy laughs. It's funny and charming at times, but never so much that I could call it a comedy. The film also takes quite a long time to descend into horror. For the most part, Rent-A-Pal is simply tragic, as David's life truly is one no one would wish upon their worst enemy. In many ways, David is the 90s equivalent of the incel, trapped in the basement of his home and lacking the drive and the skills to interact with those outside. The struggle David faces with interacting with the real world is made extremely clear, and you can't help but feel for the guy in his predicament. Mainly because there's a key moment at the beginning where David really pours his soul out on the camera in one of his videotaped interviews for the dating service. There are a lot of parallels between Rent-A-Pal and Joker that become more obvious by the end of the film. Both films depict a person with a deep yearning to connect with someone, yet lacks the social skills and mental capacity to do so. There were times where I wanted Rent-A-Pal to go broader, deeper, and bigger, but it never really does. The film is an enigma of sorts, never falling into one specific genre or laying out what type of film it really is. It doesn't seem to care about label itself. It seems like a psychological deep dive into a demented psyche, but then again, there are moments where it seems like this bizarre tape David finds is actually haunted and forms a supernatural bond with its viewer. Or is David just lonely and nuts, and the connection we're seeing between them is all in David's head? Well, I think it's the latter. It's never made clear, as there isn't really a time when anyone other than David sees the video. Rent-A-Pal feels like an awkward family photo from 1990, depicting all of the wonky styles, gaudy trends, and dated decor of that era that was trying desperately to distinguish itself from the 80s by turning out to be a bland transition between the electric 80s and the grungy 90s. At times, I feel Rent-A-Pal is too immersive in the mundane life of David. It sure takes its time to get to the bombastic stuff. It does occur, but it might be a little too late for some. Still, the film proves to be quite the heartbreaker, mostly due to the convincingly pathetic performance by Brian Landis Folkens and the bizarre relationship he forms with the face on the screen. Days after seeing Rent-A-Pal, I can't shake it. It's one of those descents into the dark that pulled me in with it, and it kind of feels uncomfortable in here. That'll be it for today. If you like this video, please pound that thumbs up button. Share this video with your social media addicted pals. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on mlmillerwrites.com. Don't forget I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks for you to look for. GRAVETRANCERS is out right now, and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, will be out in late November, early December, Diamond Order Code APR 201712. And be sure to subscribe to this channel, and ring that bell for alerts to be the first to see my future videos. Thanks so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality.